Hey guys, happy Thursday. I hope you've had a blessed day today and that you've had some time just to spend with the Lord in prayer and reading His Word and in worship. If you haven't, take some time and read our daily reading, which was 1 Chronicles chapters 19 through 21. What I want to go over briefly is in chapter 20 in the first verse. What you see there is you see this very brief mention where it says that David remained behind while the men went to war at a time when kings were to go to war. So what does that mean? That means that he was at a place where he shouldn't have been, where he wasn't called to be, but he remained. What does that teach us? I think something that can be applied is when we look in Ephesians chapter 5, verses 13 through 17, and let me read that real quick for you. It says, "But their evil intentions will be exposed when the light shines on them, for the light makes everything visible. This is why it is said, 'Awake, O sleeper, rise up from the dead, and Christ will give you light.' So be very careful how you live. Don't live like fools, but like those who are wise. Make the most of every opportunity in these evil days. Don't act thoughtlessly, but understand what the Lord wants you to do." Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you were somewhere you really didn't need to be, and while you were there, you may have gotten in trouble? I think of times when maybe I should have been in service during church, and I'm walking the halls or doing something I shouldn't have, and find myself in situations where instead of hearing the word of God, I'm distracted by something else. Or there have been times in my life when I know that God has called me down a certain path and I'm not obedient. And in my disobedience, I find some strife and I find some hardships because I wasn't obedient. But in those chapters, specifically chapter 20, verse 1, and in Ephesians, these are a few points that I found that I thought were worth mentioning. One, exposed by the light. You see, David's decision was eventually exposed, reminding us that our actions, wise or unwise, will come to light. You know that in those moments that David gave into temptation, he sought out Bathsheba, and we know what happened from there. And that completely changed the course of his life. We know that God still received glory, but look the hardship that came from that one decision to remain behind. Wake up and rise, right? So David's situation called for awakening from complacency, just as we're urged to wake up and let Christ's light guide us in all that we do so that we don't neglect our responsibilities. Live wisely and not foolishly. I think that definitely can apply to us now. David's failure to lead his army was living foolishly. We're encouraged to live wisely and understand God's will so that we can avoid the foolishness of sin. Also, make the most of every opportunity. David missed his chance to fulfill his duty, and it reminds us that we need to seize the opportunity that the Lord puts before us, to stay mindful of our responsibilities, to be obedient to the Lord, and to discern His will. So all of that, it underscores something. It shows us that there's significance to wise living, aligning with God's will, and seizing every opportunity. And David's story, it warns us and it shows us the repercussions of disregarding our duties and veering away from God's wisdom. We got to do better. We need to read His Word and learn from the mistakes of those in the past. Let's not be like David in this situation where we're somewhere we shouldn't be, where we're not obedient to the Lord's will, where we're acting foolishly. Let's challenge ourselves today to learn from this word, to learn from these chapters, and to do better for God. He deserves our all, He deserves our best, and He deserves our obedience. I love you guys, and I hope you have a blessed day.